So, this is the next video on the revision. So this is belong to the EMF propagation. So EMF propagation in the general medium. So how we generated the EM wave? So for generating an EM wave, we came to know that for generating an EM wave, there must be a time harmonic source. So that there must be a time harmonic current source must be there. Okay. So if you use that time harmonic current source, so by using the Maxwell's equations, del cross E is equals to minus dou B by dou T, del cross H is equals to JC plus dou D by dou T. Okay, JC plus dou D by dou T. So from these two equations, we derive the Helmholtz equations. See, already what we came to know, there must be a time harmonic source must be present for generating an EM wave. Okay, there must be a time harmonic source must be presenting for generating an EM wave. Okay, so now by using the Maxwell's equations, del cross E is equals to minus dou B by dou T and del cross H is equals to JC plus, JC means sigma E, okay, JD means dou D by dou T. Suppose if you reduce the equations and you will get these two equations, del square E is equals to J omega mu plus sigma plus J omega epsilon into E, del square H is equals to J omega mu into sigma plus J omega epsilon into H. These two equations are called as the Helmholtz equations. Okay, these are also called as the EM wave equations in the general medium. EM wave equations in the general medium. So these two equations are saying that how the EM waves are propagating in the medium. Generally the medium is characterized by sigma epsilon mu. Sigma epsilon mu. These are called as the material constants. These are also called as material constants, right? So if you take the E is nothing but what? E is E naught e power j omega t, H is equals to H naught e power j omega t. So that means if the source is the time harmonic, right? Source is the time harmonic, right? So if you are using the source as the time harmonic, and finally what we are getting? Del square E, del square H. Del square E, del square H. What is meant by del? Del means dou square by dou x square, dou square by dou y square, plus dou square by dou z square. Right? Del square is equals to what? Dou square by dou x square plus dou square by dou y square plus dou square by dou z square. Right? So del is a spatial operator. So what is the del operator? Already we know. Del operator is analyzing the rate of change of a quantity in the direction of space. Space means x, y, z, r, theta, phi and rho, phi, z. Okay, here we are concentrating only on the Cartesian coordinates. So that's why we have to replace dou square as del square as dou square by dou x square plus dou square by dou y square plus dou square by dou z square. Right? So these are called as the Helmholtz equations. So from these two equations, we have to notice one thing, that if the source is time harmonic, if the source at one end of the medium is time harmonic, the waves will be propagated into the space. That is the meaning of this equation. What is the meaning of this? If the source is time harmonic, if you are taking the source as E naught e power j omega t, H naught e power j omega t, these are the harmonic quantities, right? So if you take this kind of source, what happens? So the multiplication of this one into this will give you del square E, means the propagation of the variation of E and variation of H in the direction of x, y, z. That is the meaning of these two equations. So that means the time harmonics, if there is a time harmonic source at one end of the medium, there will be propagation in the medium. Okay, there will be the variation of the fields in the medium. Okay, so this is the thing you should understand. Okay, to exist the EM wave propagation, there must be the time harmonic source, right? Without the time harmonic source, there cannot be electromagnetic wave will be generated. Okay, so because of the time harmonic source only, electric field and magnetic field will be simultaneously generated, and they are the function of time also, because we are taking the source as the function of time, and the effect is also the function of time. Okay, and also they are, see, already we know this is function of time, and also it is varying with respect to space also. So from this equation only we should know that the electromagnetic wave is a function of time and a function of space also. This is the point you have to understand, right? So electromagnetic wave is a function of time and function of space. So it is a function of time and function of space means what? Function of distance. Space means function of distance. So that means the electromagnetic wave will be varying in distance also, right? So this is the point you have to understand, right? So if you come to this, suppose if you consider the uniform plane wave. So what is the uniform plane wave? Generally our second chapter is uniform plane waves, right? So how the uniform plane will be means, it will be following the transverse nature. So what is this transverse nature means? E direction cross H direction is equals to propagation direction. Electric field direction cross magnetic field direction will giving you the propagation direction. This is called as the transverse nature. If it is a uniform plane wave, it definitely follow this, right? So let us suppose electric field is in the direction of AX. Let us suppose magnetic field in the direction of AY. Now the propagation will be AX cross AY. AX cross AY is equals to AZ. AZ is the propagation direction. So what is meant by propagation means the traveling of the wave. So in which it will travel? So the traveling of the wave means the variation of the wave in the direction of space. The variation of the wave, how it is varying in the distance. Okay, that is called as the propagation. We will represent the propagation as del. We will represent the propagation as del. Why del means it represents the propagation of the EM wave. That means the variation of the EM wave. So that's why we are naming this one as a propagation parameter, right? So del represents the variation of the EM wave in the direction of space. In the direction of space means what? Dou by dou z. In which direction? AZ direction, right? So this is the thing you have to understand. Okay, so AX cross AY give you AZ. So AZ is nothing but what? It is the propagation direction. So from now onwards, what we can write? The propagation will be in Z direction. So the entire EMF propagation, we consider it as Z direction propagation, and it may be depending on the question. Okay, suppose there may be the change in the electric field direction also, there may be change in the magnetic field direction. So according to that, the propagation direction changes, right? So it is not unique. Okay, so there will be a change in the electric and magnetic field also. So according to that, the propagation direction changes. So sometimes he may give E in the direction of AY, okay, H in the direction of AZ. So according to that, the propagation direction will be AY cross AZ give you AX. So the propagation will be in the direction of AX. So according to that, you have to adjust that propagation direction, right? So what is del representing? The del representing the propagation of the wave. Del representing the propagation, variation of the wave in the direction of space. In which direction? Z direction. How the propagation will be? The propagation will be in Z direction. When? If you take electric field in the AX direction, magnetic field in the AY direction. Suppose if you take electric field in the AY direction and magnetic field in the AZ direction, now what will be the propagation direction? AY cross AZ will be AX. Suppose if we take electric field in the AY direction, let us suppose magnetic field in the AX direction, now the propagation will be minus AX direction, minus AZ direction, right? Minus AZ direction. So according to the transverse nature, it follows, right? So always the uniform plane wave following the transverse nature. Okay, so what is the transverse nature? Electric field direction cross magnetic field direction is equals to the propagation direction. So this is what? An EM wave, right? Which kind of EM wave? Uniform plane wave. Okay, so this is the thing. Suppose if I write this j omega mu into sigma plus j omega epsilon like this, gamma square. Okay, so I can write del square E is equals to gamma square E, del square H is equals to gamma square H, where gamma is equals to root over this one. right? If you observe this, it is a complex quantity. It is a complex quantity. It is j omega mu sigma plus j omega epsilon is a complex quantity. I am writing this complex quantity as alpha plus j beta. Okay, alpha plus j beta. So this is called as a propagation constant. We should know that in general the propagation constant of an EM wave is complex. In general, the propagation constant of an EM wave is complex. Okay, so this is the point you have to understand. So what is the propagation constant means? Alpha plus j beta. Here alpha is called as the attenuation constant, beta is called as the phase constant. The units of the attenuation constants are Nepper per meter, or also called as the decibels per meter. Nepper per meter also called as the decibels per meter. So this is called as the attenuation constant. Beta is called as the phase constant. Okay, the units of the phase constants are radian per meter, phase per distance, here attenuation per distance. Okay, how it is attenuating, how it is gaining some phase as the wave is moving forward in the z direction or x direction or y direction. So what it is saying, how the propagation, what is the propagation constant represent? Okay, it represents how the wave is attenuating, and also how much gain of, how much amount of phase is attained as the wave is moving in the direction of space. So this is the meaning of this propagation constant, right? So this is called as propagation constant. So alpha plus j beta. So in general the gamma is calculated per unit distance, right? Per unit distance. So this is the propagation constant. Now observe the EM wave equation. So the EM wave, suppose if you solve this differential equation, see already we know what is del square. Del square is equals to dou square by dou z square, right? So dou square by dou z square is equals to gamma square E. So it is a differential equation. If you solve this differential equation, what you will get? E of z, right? E of z, because E is a function of z, because it is dou by dou z, right? So the electric field is differentiated in the with respect to z. So that's why we will get the function of E in terms of z. We will get the function E in terms of z. So I am writing this. The solution for this equation, differential equation, is C1 e power minus gamma z plus C2 e power plus gamma z. Okay, now what I have considered? I have considered the uniform plane wave. So that's why I am naming E of z suffix x, representing E is varying in z and directed in x. Okay, so electric field is a function of z and it is directed. Electric field is directed in x. Field direction is x direction, but that x directed field is traveling in z. That is the meaning of that. Okay, traveling in z. So how it is propagating? The electric field is propagating in z direction, but that electric field is directed towards x, right? So the solution for this differential equation is C1 e power gamma z plus C2 e power plus gamma z. It is directed in x. Okay, similarly h of z gamma y, h of z suffix y is equals to C3 e power minus gamma z plus C4 e power plus gamma z into ay. Why I have written this? Because I have considered the uniform plane wave. The uniform plane wave will be having the electric field is in one direction, magnetic field is exactly perpendicular to the electric field direction, and the propagation direction will be z direction. That is the point you have to understand. Okay, so if you observe this, these two things are called as E of z and H of z. These two are called as the EM wave equations only, because these two are derived from this, right? These two are the EM wave equations. So by using that expression, what we can write? So E of z comma x, E of z of x is representing the electric field is traveling in z, okay, and directed in x. Here, what is the meaning of this? The magnetic field is traveling in Z and directed in Y. Right? So, what is meaning of traveling? So, the electric field is function of Z. Means, this is a function of Z. E power minus gamma Z, E power gamma Z. Right? It is a function of Z. Right? So, what are these AX, AY? These AX, AY are called as the field directions. Right? Suppose if you observe, let us suppose this is the electric field, it is the magnetic field. Okay. Let us suppose this is the electric field, this is the magnetic field. How these fields are? How the electric field? Let us suppose this is X direction. Let us suppose this is the X direction. Let us suppose blue pen is electric field, red pen is magnetic field. Okay. Let us suppose this is X direction, it is Y direction, it is Z direction. Right? It is Z direction. Observe this. Electric field is directed in X, magnetic field is directed in Y. What is the Z direction? Z direction is this one, right? So, how the propagation will be? The propagation will be Z direction. So, it will come towards the camera, right? So, like this. So, how the electric field? Electric field is directed in this direction only, but this is not traveling in this direction. But how it is traveling? In this direction. So, that is the meaning of this? The electric field is directed in X, magnetic field is directed in Y, and the propagation is in this black pen. The propagation will be in this Z direction, in this direction. So, this black pen represent Z direction, means this Z represent this one, right? So, this X represents this and this Y represents this, right? So, this is the thing you have to understand. So, these are the directions of electric field and magnetic field and propagation directions. Okay, electric field, magnetic field and the propagation direction. Now, if you observe this EM wave equation, see, this is called as an EM wave. Right? So, there will be a combination of electric and magnetic fields. In the problems, he will give only the electric field or only the magnetic field. We should represent that. We should remember that. Okay. That is an EM wave. Suppose whenever an EM wave in the function of Z, okay, or in the function of T, we will come to know. Okay. That is called as an EM wave. Okay. Now, if you observe this EM wave is a function of Z. So, which kind of functions these are? These are two exponential functions. These are two exponential functions. So, only it is dependent on Z. In this expression, it is representing that the EM wave is only the function of Z. So, it is dependent on the Z value. What is Z? It is the distance from the source. Okay, so as Z increases, as the distance increasing, what happens to the amplitude of the wave? Suppose if you observe this, here is the point source, here is the source is there. Okay, it is time harmonic source. So as Z increasing in this direction, what is this direction? It is positive Z direction and it is negative Z direction. If you observe these two expressions, okay, as common sense is saying that, so as you move away from the source, either this direction or this direction, so definitely the wave amplitude will decaying, right? So what happens if you observe these two expressions? So we should know that as we move away from the source, definitely the wave amplitudes will get decayed. How they are decaying? They are decaying exponentially. So if you take this one or this one, if you take this function or this function, both are representing the exponential decays only. That is the point you have to understand. Okay, either this one or this one representing the exponential decaying functions only, right? So by using this, if you know that concept, and you will come to know this is representing the positive Z directed wave, this is representing the negative X directed wave. Why means if you take the positive values of Z only, okay, it will give a exponential decay function. Okay, if you take negative values of Z only, it will give exponential decay function. So that's why it is representing positive z directed wave, it is representing negative z directed wave. So whenever there is a positive exponentials of distances are there, then we should note that they are negative directed wave. If there is negative exponentials of distance is there, then we should note that it is a positive directed wave. That is the point you have to understand, right? So whenever there is a minus sign is there, we should remember that it is a positive directed wave. Whenever there is a positive sign is there in the exponential, we should remember that it is a negative directed wave, because every EM wave decays exponentially as they move in the direction of space, in the distance. With respect to distance, the wave amplitude decays exponentially. So that is the point you have to remember. So these two are the EM wave equations. So what is this? The wave is a function of distance, right? It is a function of distance. Z is nothing but function of distance, and harmonic in time also. Already we know what is this. Whatever we have taken, just we are hiding the time harmonics. Okay, so we have to represent in time harmonics also. First of all, what we have taken? We have taken this E as E naught e power j omega t. That means this electromagnetic wave is a function of time and also space. That is the point you have to understand. It is a function of time and space. So which kind of function it is? Harmonic in space and harmonic in time. They are harmonic in space, harmonic in time. Already we know it is harmonic in time, but we will come to know whether it is harmonic in space or not. Right? Suppose if you observe this, what is alpha? Alpha is equals to, what is gamma? Gamma is equals to alpha plus j beta. So alpha plus j beta is a complex quantity, right? So what happens? J term is there, right? So e power j terms representing what? It is harmonic. Okay, but which kind of harmonic? Decaying harmonic, right? If you write e power alpha plus j beta here, okay, which kind of harmonic it is? It is a decaying harmonic, right? So this is the thing. So EM wave is a function of distance and harmonic in time and decays exponentially as it travels, right? So as distance increasing, so automatically its amplitude will be decaying. Suppose if you put z is equals to 0, what happens? It is C1 plus C2. Maximum amplitude will be at the source. Maximum amplitude will be at the source. That is the point you have to remember. Okay. So as z increases, so the amplitude will get decayed exponentially. Now we came to know that E is also function of time also, right? So that's why just now, till now we are hiding the e power j omega t term. Now we are bringing that term here. So E of z gamma t is equals to E naught e power j omega t into e power minus gamma z. Why I have neglected this term? Just I am considering only the positive z directed wave. Okay, now I am considering the positive z directed wave. So that's why I am neglecting these two terms here. I am neglecting the two terms here. So instead of C1 I am writing E naught into e power j omega t. You can remember like that also. Okay, so E of z gamma t is equals to E naught e power j omega t into e power minus gamma z, because I have considered only the positive z directed propagation. Okay, I have considered the propagation in positive z direction. So this is called as the final wave solution. So if you observe this, so which kind of? It is a function of time harmonic and space harmonic. Time harmonic and space harmonic. Right? So this is the thing you have to understand. So h of z gamma t is equals to h naught into e power j omega t into e power minus gamma z ay. Okay, so always the E and H both are function of z gamma t. Z gamma t means it is a function of time. Z means function of distance, t means function of time. Which kind of function? Harmonic in harmonic functions. Okay, so the EM wave is a product of time harmonic and space harmonic. It is a time harmonic and a space harmonic. Right? Because it is a complex quantity, I can say this one as a harmonic. If it is a real quantity, I cannot say this one as a harmonic. That is the point you have to understand. Okay? Because it is a complex quantity, you can say this one e power minus gamma z as a harmonic. Harmonic in what? Z. Okay, harmonic in space. But how they are directed? In x direction, magnetic field is directed in y direction. So this is called as the final wave solution of EM wave. And if you put alpha is equals gamma is equals to alpha plus j beta, gamma is equals to alpha plus j beta, we will get these two equations. So E of z comma t directed in x is equals to E naught into e power minus alpha z. I am writing minus of alpha plus j beta. Okay, alpha is a real value. So if I write this and rewrite this equation, e power j omega t minus beta z, right? So this is the rearranged equation. So from now onwards, so it is a function of E of z is a function of the time harmonic and space harmonic. So if you rearrange these equations like this, so what is this? E naught e power minus alpha z into e power j omega t minus beta z directed in x. H of z comma t of y is equals to h naught e power minus alpha z into e power j omega t minus beta z. Harmonics are same here, right? But the amplitude will be changing. See, observe this. J omega t minus beta z, this is called as e power j omega t minus beta z is called as the harmonic. E power j omega t minus beta z, this entire part is called as the harmonic. Now omega t minus beta z is called as the phase. It is in the form of what? E power j theta, right? So in place of theta, theta means what? Phase. In place of theta, we are having omega t minus beta z. So that's why omega t minus beta z is called as the phase. So what is this? E power minus E naught into e power minus alpha z. This entire portion is called as the amplitude of the EM wave. It is amplitude of the EM wave. So we are representing this one as mod E, means amplitude. Okay, mod E is equals to E naught e power alpha z. Suppose if z is equals to 0, now what will be the amplitude? If z is equals to 0, what will be the amplitude? E naught is E is equals to E naught only. So mod E is equals to E naught only. So that E naught representing the initial value. This E naught representing the initial value. If z is equals to 0, so the electric field, the amplitude of the EM wave will be maximum. That is equals to E naught, right? So this is the amplitude. What is the phase? Phase is equals to omega t minus beta z is called as the phase. We know ax and ay are the field directions. Okay, so whatever is there in the exponential, observe this, whatever is there in the exponential, it must be there. That is the point you have to understand. Whatever is there in the exponential, it must be there in the bracket. Okay, so it is direction of the field, direction of the field. But z means, if suppose if h, e and h are function of z, so we have to write exponential in that z only. Okay, so this is the meaning of the EM wave, right? So this is the representation of the EM wave. It is the universal representation. Okay, so these are called as the amplitudes. Okay, e power minus alpha z. So if you observe this, what is the amplitude? Amplitude is decaying exponentially as z increases. Okay, suppose if z is equals to 0, the magnitude of E will be E naught. Suppose if z is equals to 1, if z is equals to 1, magnitude of E will be E naught into minus alpha. So they are decaying exponentially at alpha rate. Okay, at what rate? At alpha rate. So this is the point you have to understand. So this is the phase. Phase is so phase can be written as what? So from this expression we can write that the phase is proportional to t and phase is proportional to z. Sorry, this is phase is proportional to t and phase is proportional to z. This is the thing you have to understand. So what is this phase? The phase of an EM wave is dependent on time and dependent on distance. So okay, so as time increasing, so the phase will be changed, the phase of the EM wave will change, and as the distance also increasing, according to the distance the phase will be changed. So that's why theta proportional to t and theta proportional to the distance. So the phase of an EM wave is a linear function of variable. The phase of an EM wave is a linear function of the variable. There are two variables are there. What is the two variable? Time and space. time and space. So theta proportional to phase proportional to t and phase proportional to the distance, space, right? So time and distance. The phase of the EM wave is a function of time and distance, time and space, right? That's why it is time harmonic and space harmonic, right? So now if we write theta proportional to t, so from this we can write theta is equals to omega t. Theta is equals to omega t, right? So within the full cycle of the harmonic, it will attain 2 pi radians of the phase. So from this, omega is equals to, what is omega? Omega is equals to 2 pi by t. So this is called as the angular frequency. Okay, it is also called as the phase shift constant. Observe this, the phase shift constant per unit time. So the units are radians per second. It is also called as beta. Beta is also phase constant per unit distance. What is this lambda? Lambda nothing but the wavelength of the wave in the medium. So beta is equals to 2 pi by lambda. What are the units? Radians per meter, radians per second. So these are the things you have to understand. Okay, it is the phase shift constant per unit time. It is the phase shift constant per unit distance, right? Radian per meter are the units of beta. So beta is very, very important, right? Okay, we know this is omega is equals to 2 pi by t till now, but there is a new term came here, beta is equals to 2 pi by lambda. Okay, so these are the things. Next, so this is the EM wave. So the EM wave is propagating into the EM wave is generated. So we have to investigate how the EM wave is propagating in different mediums. Okay, in different mediums, how the EM wave is propagating, and we have decided what is the propagation constant, okay, of the medium. See, observe this, the propagation constant of the medium is dependent on purely the medium. Why? The propagation constant of the EM wave is purely dependent on the medium, because it's a function of sigma epsilon mu, right? So medium properties, so they are dependent on medium properties. So this is a point you have to understand. And also there is one more parameter is there, so which is dependent on the medium. So that is called as the intrinsic impedance. But that is called as the intrinsic impedance. So this is also called as the wave impedance. Okay, it is also called as the wave impedance. Suppose, so this wave impedance is represented with eta. Okay, eta is equals to E by H. Okay, eta is equals to E by H. So this will be equals to j omega mu divided by sigma plus j omega epsilon. Okay, so we know, so how this impedance is occurring means, suppose we know the E is converted into H and H is converted into VE, right? So we came to know that the time varying electric field is generated, the time varying electric field is generating a space varying magnetic field, and time varying magnetic field is generating space varying electric field. So whenever there is a transformation from one field to another field, there is some kind of attenuation, and also there is some phase shift will be occurring. Okay, so because of that we are getting this kind of impedance. Okay, so we are naming this one as impedance. So impedance is equals to E divided by H. Okay, it is representing a transformation slope of E and H. Okay, so E and H is equals to j omega mu divided by sigma plus j omega epsilon. Okay, it is also calculated from the Maxwell's equations only. So it is a well-known relation. Eta is equals to root over j omega mu divided by sigma plus j omega epsilon. Okay, it is also complex. In general, it is a complex. So because it is an impedance, right, we are naming this one as R plus Jx. Okay, so what is this? Eta is equals to E by H, right? So because it is a complex, it will be having some magnitude equal to the magnitude of E and H, and it is producing some theta. That is a phase. So from now onwards, what is the phase? This theta is nothing but the phase angle of E and H. The phase angle of E and H. So what is the phase angle? E and H. E by H representing what? Eta. So from now we can say that the phase of the eta can be called as the phase of E by H, or also called as the phase between E and H. Okay, the phase angle, the phase difference between E and H. So the eta phase is equals to the phase angle between E and H, or also is equals to the phase of E by H. So if you observe this is what? How much? It is 90 degrees divided by tan inverse omega epsilon divided by sigma, because it is in under root, so we can write by 2. So what is the eta space? Eta space is equals to 90 minus tan inverse omega epsilon divided by sigma divided by 2. Right? So this is the intrinsic impedance. And this is a very, very important relation. You have to remember this. What is the eta space? Eta space is nothing but the phase angle between the E and H. Phase angle between the E and H. Right? So this is the point you have to understand. So the phase angle is equal to 90 minus tan inverse omega epsilon divided by sigma divided by 2. Right? So very, very important parameters we found. The propagation constant means attenuation constant and phase constant. Right? And also omega and beta, it's a phase constants, both are phase constant, and intrinsic impedance of the medium. So these are the very, very important things you should remember, right? Now what will be the propagation in the free space? So what will be the propagation? How the propagation will exist in the free space? The propagation in general is characterized by how the propagation constant and what is the intrinsic impedance and what will be the velocity of the wave in the medium. So by using this, how the propagation can be, how the propagation is exist, we can determine, right? So for free space, suppose if it is a free space, so the conductivity of the free space will be 0 and epsilon is equals to epsilon naught, mu is equals to mu naught. So this is the point you have to understand. Okay. So for free space, so these are the material constants. Sigma is equals to 0, epsilon is equals to epsilon naught, mu is equals to mu naught. So from this, what is gamma? Gamma is equals to root over j omega plus sigma plus j omega epsilon. If you put these values here, so you will get gamma is equals to j omega into root over mu naught epsilon naught. Right? Mu naught epsilon naught. So here I am representing this one as what? Gamma is equals to alpha plus j beta. But we are getting only the imaginary values only. There is no real value in this. So that's why we can directly say that this alpha is not there. Only the beta terms are there. Right? So from this, gamma is purely imaginary. And real part is 0. Real part is 0 means alpha is 0. Here there is no alpha. No alpha means what? Attenuation is not there. No attenuation. So no attenuation of the wave. Only the propagation is in the direction of space. So there is no attenuation means we can say that this one as a lossless medium. It is a lossless medium. So free space is a lossless medium for the EM wave to propagate. So it is the best medium. So okay. So the propagation constant is over. Now what will be if the propagation constant is over, now what will be the wave impedance or intrinsic impedance of the medium? Intrinsic impedance is equals to, if you put mu is equals to mu naught and epsilon is equals to epsilon naught, sigma is equals to 0. Finally what you will get? You will get root over mu naught divided by epsilon naught. So from this, you know already the mu naught and epsilon naught value. Okay, mu naught and epsilon naught value we know already. So if you put those values, you will get 120 pi. But it is what? Impedance, right? It is what? Impedance. Because volts E by H is nothing but what? Volt per meter divided by ampere per meter. Meter will get cancelled. Finally what will get? Volt per ampere representing ohms. So this is the point, right? So now the units of eta are ohms. Right? So eta is equals to 120 pi ohms. If you observe this, it is a mu naught. Mu naught is equals to how much? Mu naught is equals to 4 pi into 10 power minus 7 Henry per meter. Epsilon is equals to 1 by 36 pi into 10 power 9 Farad per meter. So both are the real values. So the result is also real value. If there is a real value, what is the angle of that real value? The angle of that real value is 0. So from this, what is eta? Eta is equals to mod E by H at an angle theta, but theta is 0 here because it is a real value. So what is the meaning of this 0 means the phase angle between E and H is 0. The eta phase is 0 means the phase angle between E and H is 0. So what is the phase angle between E and H means? See, the phase angle between E and H is 0 means it doesn't mean they are in this direction, right? There will be always in transverse nature only. Observe this. The electric field is in this direction, magnetic field is in this direction, or otherwise the electric field is in this direction, magnetic field is in this direction. They will be always orthogonal in space, 90 degrees in space. But the meaning of this 0 means the students may have a doubt here. So already we came to know that the electric field direction, magnetic field direction is 90 degrees, means orthogonal. So how can you put this theta 0? So there is a doubt there. Electric field direction, magnetic field direction always perpendicular to each other. Directions are perpendicular, means they are orthogonal in space, but they are in phase in time. Okay, in phase in time. So that means, right? So the electric field is in that direction, magnetic field in this direction. So they will be always perfectly synchronized in manner. The electric field and magnetic field will be like this, and they will be coming towards the z direction, right? So this is the meaning of this. So there is a time difference between E and H. There is a time difference between E and H, but they are always orthogonal to each other. There is a, see what is the time, is there any time difference? There is no time difference. What does the theta represent? The theta represents means, theta represents 0 means there is no time difference. That is the point. If theta is a non-zero, then there is a time difference between E and H. So this is the point, right? So always E and H will be 90 degrees in orthogonal in space, 90 degrees in space, but they are 0 degrees in time for the free space. Okay, they are in phase for the free space. Okay, phase in with respect to time. Now come to the phase velocity. Now what will be the phase velocity? So from this, what is the phase velocity? Phase velocity Vp is equals to, what is the phase velocity? The distance traveled by the in phase point is called as the phase velocity. Okay, so from this you can write, so omega by beta is equals to the phase velocity. Okay, velocity is equals to omega by beta. So here it will be, what is the beta here? Beta is equals to omega root over mu naught epsilon naught. So omega by beta will give you 1 divided by root over mu naught epsilon naught. So if you know these values, mu naught value, epsilon naught value, so here you will get 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. So now for the in the free space, the EM wave travels with a velocity of light, with that of the light velocity, right? So travels with a velocity of the light. So 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. So for the free space, the EM wave will be traveling with the velocity of light 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second, right? So this is a very, very important point. So for the free space propagation, what we came to know, these are the very, very important. For the free space, sigma is 0, epsilon is equals to epsilon naught, mu is equals to mu naught. And very, very important thing is, the propagation constant must be purely imaginary. Okay, for the free space, the propagation constant must be purely imaginary. Then only you will get a lossless phenomena. Okay, so lossless means there is no attenuation. So alpha must be 0. To make alpha must be 0, the propagation constant must be purely imaginary. Now what will be the intrinsic impedance? Intrinsic impedance must be purely real. Intrinsic impedance must be purely real. So that is the meaning of this. That means there is no phase difference between E and H. It is showing that there is no phase difference between E and H. Okay, so this is eta is equals to 120 pi at an angle 0 degrees. Now what is the phase velocity? The phase velocity of the EM wave is 3 into 10 power 8. So these are the three very, very important things. Okay, suppose if any wave is traveling in free space means its propagation constant must be purely imaginary, intrinsic impedance must be purely real, and the phase velocity of the EMF must be equal to the light velocity. So this is the thing. Now if you come to the lossless, if you observe this, if you come to the next medium, so what is the next medium? The for lossless dielectric. So what is the lossless dielectric? Lossless dielectric means there also you will get sigma is equals to 0, epsilon is equals to epsilon naught. It is also called as perfect dielectric. Okay, for perfect dielectric the epsilon value will be greater than epsilon naught, right? So here epsilon is equals to epsilon naught into epsilon r, right? Epsilon is equals to epsilon naught into epsilon r. Mu is equals to mu naught. Mu is equals to mu naught. What is the mu? Why can't I write mu is equals to mu naught into mu r? It is a lossless dielectric or a perfect dielectric. Okay, so all the perfect dielectrics or lossless dielectrics are said to be non-magnetic materials. Suppose if it is a magnetic material, mu r greater than 1. Okay, so mu r will be existing for non-magnetic material. Mu r will be greater than 1 for non-magnetic material because it is a lossless dielectric. It is not a, sorry, mu r will be existing for magnetic materials. Sorry, the mu r will be existing for the magnetic material, but all lossless dielectrics are non-magnetic materials. All lossless dielectrics are non-magnetic materials. So that's why mu r will be 1. So that's why mu is equals to mu naught only, right? So gamma is equals to, if you put these values, epsilon is equals to epsilon naught, epsilon r, and mu is equals to mu naught, and sigma is equals to 0 in this, you will get gamma is equals to j omega root over mu naught, epsilon naught, epsilon r. So it is j beta. Here also we are getting alpha is equals to 0. So alpha is equals to 0 means we are getting purely imaginary, right? Purely imaginary. So there is no attenuation for this one also. So that's why we are naming this one as lossless dielectric or perfect dielectric. So perfect dielectrics are also called as the lossless dielectrics because alpha is 0, because we are getting the propagation constant purely imaginary, right? So these are the purely imaginary. Now come to the intrinsic impedance. So what will be the intrinsic impedance? So it will be root over mu naught divided by mu naught into epsilon r. So here we know root over mu naught divided by epsilon naught is how much? 120 pi. So divided by 1 root epsilon r value is there. It is again a real value. Okay. So from now onwards, if there is a lossless medium, if it is a lossless medium, see, it is also lossless. It is also lossless. It is also lossless, right? No attenuation means it is also lossless. So if it is a lossless medium, what we can know? The alpha is 0. The alpha is 0 means what? The propagation constant is purely imaginary. Propagation constant is purely imaginary, right? Now what is the intrinsic impedance? Here the intrinsic impedance for this one is 120 pi. Here the intrinsic impedance for this one is 120 pi divided by root epsilon r. This is the difference between this one and this one. Now what is the phase velocity? Phase velocity is equals to Vp divided by Vp into root, Vp is equals to omega by beta. Vp is equals to omega by beta, right? So what is, already we know, if you substitute these values, omega by beta, what is omega by beta? Beta is equals to how much? Omega into root over mu naught epsilon naught epsilon r. So if you write omega by beta, you will get 1 divided by root over mu naught epsilon naught epsilon r. We know 1 divided by root over mu naught epsilon naught is equals to 3 into 10 power 8. So one more epsilon r is remaining in the root. So that's why we can write that Vp is equals to 3 into 10 power 8 divided by root epsilon r. So how can we distinguish between these two? These two are the lossless mediums. Okay, free space and lossless dielectric, both are the lossless medium. Okay, for this lossless medium, the propagation constants are purely imaginary here and here, and the intrinsic impedance are purely imaginary, purely real. Okay, the phase velocity of this one is 3 into 10 power 8. Here the phase velocity of this one is 3 into 10 power 8 divided by root epsilon r. So here both are the lossless mediums, but here we can distinguish. How can we distinguish? The intrinsic impedance for the free space will be 120 pi, but for the intrinsic impedance for this one is 120 pi divided by root epsilon epsilon r. The phase velocity in the free space is 3 into 10 power 8. The phase velocity in the lossless dielectric will be somewhat reduced when compared to the C. So that's why we can write this is less than C. So always the phase velocity of the EM wave in the lossless dielectric is less than the phase velocity of the EM wave in free space. Okay, the units are meters per second. Okay, 3 into 10 power 8 divided by root epsilon r is definitely less than the C. C is how much? 3 into 10 power 8 divided by 3 into 10 power 8. Okay, 10 power 8 meters per second. So from this, what is beta? Beta is equals to omega root over mu naught epsilon naught epsilon r. So omega is nothing but what? It is a frequency of the source. It cannot be changed. Always the frequency of the source cannot be changed until you replace the source. Okay, it is constant. Mu naught is constant. Epsilon naught is also constant. Here epsilon r is a variable. Okay, you cannot expect the homogeneous medium, so it is dependent on the medium. Okay, beta is dependent on the medium, definitely. Okay, so from this beta is proportional to root epsilon r. From this lambda is proportional to 1 by root epsilon r, because what is lambda? Lambda is equals to, there is an inversal relation between beta and lambda, so that's why you can write like that. So beta proportional to epsilon and lambda proportional to 1 by beta proportional to root epsilon and lambda proportional to 1 by root epsilon, right? So these are the relations between epsilon and lambda and beta. Okay, so now in general the EM wave is specified even in maybe electric field or magnetic field. So what is the meaning of this E of y comma t? What is E of y comma t? E of y comma t representing one EM wave, and it is a function of, observe this, it is a function of y comma t. Means what is y? Y is the distance parameter, means the EM wave is propagating in y direction. The EM wave is traveling in y direction. So that's why, so whatever is there here in the harmonic, you should get there, right? And it is a time, right? So time harmonic, e power, it is E naught into sine omega t. Omega t, sine function means it is a harmonic function. Okay? And also, see, observe this, it is a electric field, means it is an EM wave. EM wave is a function of time and it is a function of space, right? It is a function of time and function of space. So which kind of function? It is a harmonic function. Okay, so EM wave is a harmonic function of time and space. Okay, so always remember, this is representing the multiplication of time. The multiplication factor of time represents the omega, and the multiplication factor of the space represents the beta. This is the point you have to understand. Okay, the multiplication factor of the time represents the omega, and the multiplication factor of the space represents the beta. It is the phase constant per unit time, it is the phase constant per unit distance. Okay, so whenever there is a plus, here if there is a plus there, so if you use the plus here, it is representing, plus there means it is representing negative AX direction. Suppose if there is a minus, it is representing positive AY direction. Understand? Suppose if you take plus, it is representing minus AY direction propagation. If you take minus, it is representing positive AY direction. So this is the point you have to understand. Okay? So always remember the multiplication factor of the T representing omega. Okay, the multiplication factor of distance means XYZ representing the beta. Okay, this is the thing, and beta always will be positive, you remember that. Okay, this plus or minus belong to the propagation. Suppose if you take a positive value here, what is the propagation direction? It is the negative AY direction. What is the minus sign? Minus sign representing the positive AY direction. So this is the thing. Suppose in some functions there will be two. Let us suppose sine omega t plus 2 into y plus 2 into x. Let us suppose one function. Let us suppose you take one more function. Observe this. Let us suppose one function is there like this. It is 2y plus or minus 3x. Let us suppose it is like this. Now what will be the beta? The overall beta will be is equals to beta root over beta 1 square plus beta 2 square. So what is the beta 1 here? 2. Beta 2 here is 3. So beta is equals to root over 2 square plus 3 square. Okay, like that you have to identify. Right? So this is the thing. Right? So this is the EMF representation. Now what will be this E naught? Observe this. What is this? This is called as the amplitude. How it is amplitude? Amplitude is a constant amplitude. So constant amplitude means when you will get the constant amplitude. Observe this. Actually this is the amplitude. So when we will get the amplitude constant, only E naught. If Z is not, either Z is 0 or alpha is 0. Z cannot be 0 because it has to travel in the direction of space. So Z cannot be 0, but only one case it is possible. What is that? Alpha is 0. Alpha is 0. So if alpha 0 only, then E naught will be existing. Because observe this. Here Y cannot be 0 here. Okay. Only one case that is possible. When alpha is 0. So when alpha is 0, only you will get the constant amplitude. Okay. So whenever if you observe the expression, you should be able to identify whether it is belong to the lossless medium or lossy medium. Okay. Suppose if there exists any expression like this, E of z comma t is equals to E naught into e power minus alpha z, some real value here, and you are getting some phase harmonic like this. So it is a lossy medium. It is belong to the lossy medium. E power minus alpha terms will be presenting. But here, if there exists any constant values here, multiplication factor, amplitude is constant, then we can say that it is a lossless medium. There are two different kinds of lossless medium. So one is the free space and one is the lossless dielectric. That is the thing. One is free space and one is lossless dielectric. For these two, there is no attenuation in the wave. So that's why these two mediums are called as the lossless mediums. Right? So this is completed. So now we know what is alpha, what is gamma. Gamma is equal to alpha plus j beta. So this is equal to root over j omega plus sigma plus j omega epsilon. Okay. So it is a complex quantity. Suppose if you square this and equate the real and imaginary terms, you will get the alpha and beta values like this. Okay. Alpha is equal to omega root over mu epsilon divided by 2 into root over 1 plus sigma divided by epsilon whole square minus 1. Here the difference between here and here is just here minus 1 is there, plus 1 is there, and these are very important relations. You have to remember this, it will be better. Okay. So alpha is equals to this one and beta is this one. Okay. The difference between here and here is here minus is there, here plus will be there. Right. So this is called as the attenuation constant. It is called as the phase constant. So if you observe this, it is a very, very important parameter quantity. Here we have to discuss here sigma by omega epsilon. Here the sigma by omega epsilon term is called as the loss tangent. This is also called as the dissipation factor. Right? Sigma by omega epsilon. This is called as the loss tangent. It is also called as dissipation factor. Suppose if you take free space, loss tangent means it is, suppose if the loss tangent is, observe this, if the loss tangent sigma by omega epsilon value is very high, then what happens? Attenuation is very high. Right? So that's why what happens, suppose if you take any free space or a lossless dielectric, what happens? If you take a free space, then what is the sigma? Sigma value is 0. So if you put sigma value is 0, what happens? So sigma by omega epsilon is proportional to this, right? Alpha is proportional to sigma by omega epsilon. So sigma by omega epsilon is 0 means the attenuation is very low. There is no attenuation, right? There is no attenuation. So that is the, if sigma by omega epsilon 0 means what? This entire value will be 0. right? If sigma by omega epsilon 0 means what? It is root 1. Root 1 is 1 minus 1, alpha is 0. So there is no attenuation. And for lossless dielectric also, the sigma by omega epsilon value is 0. So the attenuation is 0. Right? But if you take the conductor, very good conductor, what happens? The sigma value, the conductivity value is very, very high. Okay? The sigma value is very, very high. So that's why sigma by omega epsilon value is much greater than 1. So that's why for very good conductor, what happens? Sigma by omega epsilon value is very high. So that's why the attenuation also very high. Right? So the EM wave will be facing very intense problem while traveling into the free space. So that's why, while traveling into the conductor, right? So the EM wave faces a difficult problem while moving in the very good conductor, right? So that's why the very good conductor is not suitable for propagation of an EM wave, right? So the very good conductor is not suitable for propagation of an EM wave. So that's why we won't prefer the very good conductors to propagate the EM wave. So only the suitable mediums are the free space and lossless dielectrics. Here also there is no loss, here also there is no loss. But here the loss is very high because of the alpha is dependent on sigma by omega epsilon, right? So how we get the sigma by omega epsilon? Sigma by omega epsilon is also equal to Jc by Jd. What is Jc? Conduction current density divided by the displacement current density, right? So it is the ratio of current densities. So ratio of current densities is equals to, what are the units of this? Ratios of current density. Units of ratios of current density are no units. Okay, ampere per meter square get cancelled. So you will get the no units. So sigma by omega epsilon term is a unitless quantity and it is equal to Jc by Jd. These are very, very important, right? So what is the suitable medium for the EM wave? The suitable medium for the EM wave is either the free space or the lossless dielectrics. These two are called as the lossless mediums only. Okay, other than this we will name they are the lossy mediums. For the lossy mediums, the general expressions will be like this. Okay, for the lossless medium, the general expression will be like this. Okay, so suppose if you are having a constant amplitude, then we can be considered as a lossless medium. Okay, to distinguish whether it is a free space or a lossless dielectric, we have to differentiate by using the intrinsic impedance and the phase velocity. Okay, if you take the intrinsic impedance for the free space, it will be 120 pi. It will be, if you take the intrinsic impedance for the lossless dielectric, it will be 120 pi divided by root epsilon r. So that is also less than 120 pi. If you take the phase velocity in the free space, it will be 3 into 10 power 8. Okay, suppose if you take the phase velocity in the lossless dielectric, how much it will be? It will be less than the c. That means 3 into 10 power 8 divided by root epsilon r. Right? So like this you can distinguish either it is a free space or lossless dielectric or a conductor. Okay? The conductor is not preferable for propagation of an EM wave. So these are the very, very important things. Okay?